Ambassador James Jeffrey, welcome to TRT Haber.
Thank you very much for having me. This is a good time in Turkish-American relations to catch up on where our two countries are in cooperating together.
First of all, in the wake of latest developments, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan and Head of National Intelligence Ibrahim Kalın visited Washington, D.C. for the 7th Strategic Mechanism meetings between Turkey and the United States. You followed these meetings very closely, especially with the Turkish Foreign Minister and Turkish delegation. So, before getting into hot topics between the two countries, can you please tell us what is your assessment about these meetings?
I was in Turkey in the mid-1980s in the Özal period, in the country in 1999 for the Clinton visit, in 2009 for the Barack Obama visit. These were the high points of the relationship over the past 40 years. This is another high point, not just because of the cooperation on many issues from Ukraine to Gaza to the Black Sea to NATO, but also in the willingness of both sides to cooperate and to talk. These high-level meetings that are covering all of the issues, trade, information sharing, diplomatic and military, are a good example of the sort of progress we are making and can continue to make. What is important is the reality on the ground. First of all, major powers, America is a major power, Turkey is a major power, just like France, just like Japan, just like obviously Russia, Iran, China. Major powers are always going to be in a somewhat tense situation with each other because they are big enough and powerful enough to advance their interests in broad areas or globally. And those interests are never going to be totally the same. So the art of diplomacy is to find ways to accommodate the different interests in a way that both sides benefit from. That's what we've seen on the recent steps with NATO, including Finland and Sweden's accession. That's what we've seen with the F-16 deal. That's what we've seen with these talks now that are covering the security situation all around Turkey.
After the F-16 deal have been reached, Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Senator Ben Cardin said, "I look forward to begin this new chapter in our relationship with Turkey." So the phrase "new chapter" is not very common word we hear from the Senate leaders, to be honest. So what do you make of it?
It's a very important step because much of the problem in Turkish-American relations did not rest with the administration, be it the Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, or Biden administrations, but rather with Congress. The American Congress is an independent actor, and for many reasons, many of them I cannot justify, took a very negative position over decades with Turkey. I've seen this for years, either in Washington or in my 4 tours in Turkey, that the Turkish government puts tremendous effort through its embassy here in relations with the Congress. But the Congress has not always reciprocated. This is unacceptable, and it was the fault of personalities here in Washington. What Senator Cardin is saying is, that's behind us. Let us cooperate, not just administration to administration, but Congress to Parliament, people to people. This is very important. We have differences, for example, at least at the detail level on the campaign in Gaza. We have differences on how to move forward on some of the Syrian issues. Despite that, we're in a position now where each side values the overall state of the relationship, which is high, importantly. The leaders are willing to work with each other. They have good communications, and there is a willingness on both sides to manage the areas where we not yet have achieved consensus.
Let's get into details of the hot topics between the two countries. Defense cooperation is one of the hot topics. The F-16 sale have been succeeded after a long wait. Turkey and the United States expect to increase the defense cooperation in the future, and the F-35 issue is a critical one. The United States says Turkey should get rid of S-400 missile defense system in order to join back to the F-35 program, which Turkey have been removed very controversially. At the same time, the United States waived sanctions on India for purchasing S-400 missile defense systems. So given that Turkey and the United States have long history of being strategic allies and have much more areas of cooperation, why not waiving CAATSA sanctions on Turkey?
That's a very good question. And of course, what we call the CAATSA sanctions are obsolete in any case. It was a vote of 99 of the 100 senators to criticize President Trump for too warm relations with Vladimir Putin. That was the reason for this. It had nothing to do with Turkey. But the law that they passed has caught up Turkey on the S-400 sale. There is no strategic significance to Turkey purchasing the S-400. There is no flow of Russian arms into Turkey. There is no problem. There's a technical problem if the S-400 were turned on and you had F-35s, but we've explained that to your military people many times. My belief is we should move forward. If Turkey wants to purchase F-35s, that's good for the alliance, it's good for Turkey, it's good for the United States. We can find a way to work this S-400 issue. Now, that's Jim Jeffrey's view. I can't say that's the U.S. view, but I noticed that Undersecretary of State Toria Nuland was quite optimistic, to everybody's surprise, when she was in Turkey talking about a possible F-35 option.
Yeah, if I understand correctly Jim Jeffrey's view, you are saying that Turkey should join back to the F-35 program regardless of whether it sends S-400 missile defense system out of the country or not.
The S-400 system has never been turned on. It won't have any impact on the intelligence you can gain from the F-35s if it's shut off. It has no diplomatic or political significance. You don't see Russia selling weapons all around the world. They're hard-pressed to make enough weapons to replace the ones that the Ukraine, including with Turkish weapons, are destroying. I mean, this is not an issue anymore. It shouldn't be.
On the other hand, Turkey's own defense industry is growing rapidly. For example, the latest fighter jet Kaan TFX made its maiden flight. Also, the UAVs of Bayraktar is changing the courses of the conflicts in different areas in the world. So, what do you make of it? What's your opinion on that?
We make the best aircraft in the world. Israel, which has a lot of experience, like Turkey, not only with manufacturing aircraft, but also using them in battle, developed for a decade their own aircraft, and they came back to purchasing ours. It is an option, it is good, but co-production, such as for the F-16, where, as you know, these aircraft, the first 200, were mainly built in Turkey in the 1980s. This is a really important way forward.
Yeah. Another hot topic is Syria, Mr. Ambassador. We have talked this issue with you many times. You were the special envoy to fight against ISIS under Trump administration. So Turkey wants the United States to stop partnership with the terrorist group YPG, which is the offshoot of PKK, which is a terrorist organization not only in the eyes of Turkey, but also in the eyes of the United States. Should we expect a positive outcome in that topic, or will the United States continue its Syria strategy?
Well, the Syria strategy of the United States and the Syria strategy of Turkey has many elements, because there are many dangerous and problematic actors in Syria. There is the PKK, as you said. There is the al-Nusra group. There is the Islamic State. There are the Russians. There are the Iranians, the Iranian proxies like the Hashishabi and Hezbollah, and there is Assad himself. So therefore, it's a very complex environment. We have cooperated well with Turkey. We still have an agreement in place from October 2019, which establishes the basic rules after its march into the Northeast in the Peace Spring operation. And I think that we can build on that to find a way to ease Turkey's security concerns, which are real, concerning the PKK offshoot, the Syrian Democratic Forces, to ease our concerns about operating there because we have many foes. So we have many security issues in northeast Syria. The partner of choice to work through them with remains Turkey.
When we look to the history, Mr. Ambassador, we see that whenever the United States presidential candidate vows to get out of the Middle East, at the end of his 4-year term of presidency, he ends up more engaged into the Middle East. Do you share this assessment?
I do very much. Now, here's the story on the Middle East. It has almost 50% of the world's oil, 40% of the world's natural gas. It exports roughly 40%, a little less, of the world's oil trade, and about 18% of natural gas. 1/3 of all container traffic passes through the Suez Canal. 25% of all international oil passes through the Straits of Hormuz. We have had how many countries in that region? 5 at last count, 6, 7. 2 of whom actually succeeded developing nuclear weapons. Another one is on the cusp of it, alas, Iran, and others such as Syria, Iraq, and Libya have tried, along with Egypt with its chemical weapons programs. This is and think of the terrorist movements that have come out of this region. This region is not one that we can turn our eyes away from, and every time we have, as you mentioned, we find ourselves back there.
Yeah. Ambassador Jeffrey, energy cooperation is one of the hot topics too, and both countries are expecting to improve the cooperation on that topic in the future. So how do you see Turkey's importance in Middle Corridor?
Well, I have worked for years, both in and out of government, on plans for Turkey to become a gas hub based upon the gas in Iraq, particularly northern Iraq, based upon gas not just from the Caucasus, from Azerbaijan, but beyond, from Turkmenistan, and other options, including if we can ever get through the Ukraine crisis, there is the Russian option as well. It's a major gas provider in the long term. And Turkey has already put a great deal of effort and investment into gas pipelines that now go all the way to Italy, that go into parts of Southern Europe. And of course, as you know, there are pipelines from Iraq, there are pipelines from Azerbaijan, pipelines from Russia. And we need to see this continue. And I think that the Eastern Mediterranean gas options, including eventually from Israel, Egypt, Jordan, this also is an area for cooperation. But this does require 2 things. First of all, it really does require the United States to play a role. As you know, we're ever more a supplier of liquid natural gas to Turkey. Turkey has diversified far better than other countries its gas sourcing, and we are the beneficiary of that. Secondly, you need to think of the areas I've talked about. Eastern Mediterranean, crisis. Iraq, crisis. The Caucasus, often crisis. These are areas that require geopolitical calming to enable long-term business investment and long-term development to Turkey's advantage. So it is very important that we can work together on the security file in order to advance the energy file.
Yeah. By the way, what do you think about the trade relations between the 2 countries, Mr. Ambassador? As you know, it is accelerating rapidly in recent years. Last year, it exceeded $30 billion, and the goal is $100 billion.
The goal is $100 billion, but I have to say, after many years working on that account with very little success, I'm amazed at how quickly things have developed. And there's 2 reasons for that. First of all, Turkey's governmental decision to find new sources of energy, specifically LNG, liquid natural gas, with America now exporting about as much as anybody in the world. So we benefited from that, and that was a governmental decision. But the other decision is the business sector in both countries saw the benefit of increasing their investments and trade with each other. We tried for years. We kept on, as we say, you can bring a camel to the well, but you cannot make the camel drink. We could bring the business sector together, American and Turkish, and we did that for years. We couldn't get them to invest into trade. Now they are. Now people here in Washington and throughout the United States see Turkey as a very lucrative market, and the same thing with the many, many outstanding entrepreneurs in Turkey.
The United States and Turkey are looking forward to increase the cooperation in Central Asia too. The United States has C5+1 approach to the Central Asia, and as you very well know, Turkey has deep historical and strategic relations with the Central Asian countries. So what is your opinion on increasing the cooperation in Central Asia between Turkey and the United States?
Okay, there is cooperation, there's cooperation. The United States does not have deep strategic, economic, cultural, or other ties with Central Asia. Basically is a subordinate issue to our relations with the countries that matter. Those are Russia, China, and Turkey. And on the margins, Iran. It's rare to pick a part of the world where the United States is not a major actor, but you just picked one. So our policy towards that, beyond the we like to have good relations with everybody policy, is going to be, what does our friend Turkey want to see done in that region? How can we avoid the region falling under the control totally of either Russia or China? It's more defensive and working with Turkey. But the idea is Turkey will have to come up with a lot of the initiatives, because it just isn't an area where we have much presence or much influence.
You just mentioned countering Russia, China, and on the margins of Iran. Then my last question will be a general one, Mr. Ambassador.
Yeah.
So given that we are in the great power competition era, the United States needs its allies more than ever. So how do you see Turkey's role and Turkey's importance for the United States?
Yeah, first of all, we, America, benefits from the international order that's under challenge. Turkey benefits. That's how it has become somewhere between the 15th and 20th largest economy in the world. It benefits from the security that it has had for the last 80 years. So it's very, very important to realize that we all benefit from this common global system, and it is being threatened. Even in the Cold War, to their credit, the Soviets and the Communist Chinese had an ideology. They had a plan for the world. It flowed from Marx. We rejected it. Turkey rejected it. Most countries did. But I have to admit, they had a vision. The Russians and the Chinese do not have a vision other than to tear down any vision so that they can advance their own selfish interests. And that's the problem. They don't have anything to put on the table other than military pressure, or in the case of China, economic bribes.
Mr. Ambassador James Jeffrey, thank you very much for joining us on TRT
Thank you.